I believe that we're going to get that war straightened out. We're going to get it done. I don't know that they'll meet. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. They'd like me to be at the meeting. I said, you guys ought to work it out. It's between you. It's not us.
The world held its breath. Donald Trump's remarks at a press briefing raced around the globe, shaking the political landscape. What had until recently been whispered in the closed rooms of diplomacy was now declared in public with unprecedented bluntness. The U.S. president didn't just announce his intention to stop the war between Russia and Ukraine. He reduced its roots to a personal conflict between leaders, recasting years of bloodshed as a psychological standoff between specific individuals. For world politics, it was a shock. For the media, a sensation. For diplomats, a warning that a scenario was unfolding capable of radically altering the balance of power. The reaction in global capitals was immediate. In Berlin, officials voiced fears of a behind-the-scenes deal between Washington and Moscow, bypassing European mediators. Paris speculated that the personal conflict narrative was merely a cover for a far more intricate game surrounding nuclear arms. Analysts in London recalled that Trump's political style has always featured shock diplomacy, where a sharp public statement often precedes a major round of bargaining. The context gave his words added weight. Only recently, Washington had insisted that supporting Kyiv was a priority, with military appropriations sailing through Congress almost unopposed. Now, the president announced that the U.S. is no longer spending money on Ukraine and has transferred all arms supply negotiations into NATO's framework. This is not a mere policy adjustment. It is a fundamental redistribution of responsibility, pulling the White House out of direct financial involvement and forcing European allies to shoulder far more of the burden. Kyiv reacted nervously. Ukrainian officials saw Trump's move both as pressure and as a troubling signal that the familiar relationship model was collapsing. Lawmakers privately admitted that rumors of a reset with Russia had circulated for some time, but few believed the U.S. president would voice them so openly. Military circles warned that shifting talks to NATO would slow weapons procurement and increase dependence on the political will of European capitals. The central intrigue, however, lies in the nuclear agenda. Trump revealed that he had discussed arsenal reductions with Vladimir Putin, stressing that the United States remains the undisputed leader in nuclear warheads, Russia is second, and China is third. In his forecast, Beijing will catch up within 5 years. Experts quickly speculated that Trump was trying to play on the rivalries among the three powers to prepare the ground for a unique trilateral agreement. Insiders say the idea of a grand nuclear deal had been floated in the early months of Trump's presidency, but met resistance from the Pentagon and Congress. Now, in an era of global instability, it may be back on the table. A deal between Washington, Moscow, and Beijing would be the greatest breakthrough since the end of the Cold War and would fundamentally reshape the global balance of influence. As for the personal conflict framing between Putin and Zelensky, interpretations vary. Some see it as a hint at mutual distrust, others point to deep, irreconcilable differences. Still others view it as a competition for dominance in the post-Soviet space, with Ukraine as just one of the arenas. Certain analysts link it to allegedly failed pre-war talks over creating a special economic corridor that would have connected Russia and Europe via Ukrainian territory. Against this backdrop, the nuclear issue takes on new gravity. If the three powers were to reach a historic deal, it would not only shift the global balance, but also open a window for resolving local conflicts, including the one in Ukraine. But such an outcome would require enormous diplomatic effort and a readiness for concessions, something that appears highly unlikely at present. The international press is split between two headline stories: the potential nuclear deal and Washington's refusal to directly fund Kyiv. European outlets call it an epoch-making turn in U.S. policy. Asian papers focus on the opportunity for China to strengthen its hand if talks fail. In Russia, Trump's words are seen as evidence of cracks in the Western Bloc. In Ukraine, as a signal that Allied support may soon be redistributed. In diplomatic back channels, talk is growing of a global realignment. Moving military negotiations into NATO's domain may be part of a larger strategy. The U.S. sheds unpopular expenses while retaining freedom to negotiate directly with Moscow and Beijing. Within NATO, the reaction is mixed. Formally, the alliance gains status as coordinator, but it risks losing the U.S. as an arbiter in difficult matters. This puts extra strain on European capitals and tests the bloc's unity. Sources at headquarters admit there are concerns Trump could use the situation as leverage in other areas. from trade to energy. In Moscow, the official response was restrained. But behind the scenes, there is cautious optimism. The personal conflict phrase is seen as an opening to resume direct leader-to-leader talks. Russian experts do not rule out preparations for an informal summit where nuclear and Ukrainian issues would be discussed as a package. Beijing, at the center of U.S. projections about rapid nuclear buildup, has taken a wait-and-see approach. Chinese media tread carefully in their coverage, but diplomats understand that participation in a trilateral deal could yield political dividends as well as concessions on trade and technology. In Washington, the debate over Trump's statement is in full swing. Opponents accuse him of undermining Ukraine's position and weakening its ability to fight. Supporters argue he is offering the only realistic path to end the war without dragging the U.S. into an endless spiral of costs. Closed congressional hearings have already featured reports on the growing budgetary burden and declining public support for aid to Kyiv. In Europe, especially in Germany and Italy, rumors are spreading of a secret U.S.-Russia deal in which a nuclear agreement would serve as cover for talks on Ukraine's status. Theories range from a Korean scenario to territorial compromises no one would dare mention officially. Trump's personal conflict line has become a subject of debate among political scientists and psychologists alike. Some believe he is deliberately reducing a multi-layered geopolitical crisis to a matter of personalities, creating the impression that peace could be achieved simply by changing the tone of talks. Others warn that this is a dangerously simplistic rhetoric that risks ignoring the deeper systemic causes of the war. Meanwhile, rumors persist of a closed-door meeting of the three powers on neutral ground. Geneva and Singapore are named among the possible venues. The official pretext would be global security. The real objective, a new world order. In such a format, Ukraine would be only one element of a deal spanning energy, trade, and spheres of influence. The more such signals emerge, the clearer it becomes. The world is on the verge of a historic turning point. The U.S. decision to end direct funding for Kyiv, Moscow's willingness to discuss nuclear reductions, and Beijing's patient watchfulness together form a picture in which the Ukrainian crisis is transforming from a regional war into a key element of a global realignment.